I totally never forget to turn down the music. That doesn't happen, but we're turning it back right up now because we have one last game for today's coverage from the LJLOU, or officially unofficial, for week 3 of LJL Spring 2021. That game will be AXIZ versus Sengoku, two teams who have had a bit of a rocky start to the season, but I think it's fair to say no team in the LJL so far has been without hope, and these teams might be more evenly matched than we might have thought coming out of especially week 1. Initially, I was going to go to you first. What are the real hallmarks of this matchup?
So after all the kind of dust has settled over this game, Sengoku had a rough start to the split, managed to claw their way back to a couple fairly decent wins. They won again today. So actually, after AXIZ lost to DFM, which of course is not a huge surprise, both teams come into this match at 2 and 3, and the winner will be joining the likes of CGA and Rascal Jester at 3 and 3, just that one win behind V3 Esports as well. Whereas if you lose, you're joining the Hawks down in 7th. Like, that's a big jump with how tight this table is right now.
And tightness in the table has been the story of both splits in 2020. We had teams who were 1 win away from playoffs. We had tiebreakers within and for playoffs itself. This is going to be another split where I would imagine similar things are going to happen. Actually, I think I said off air, I expected maybe we'll even get 2 tiebreakers this time around. So it means that it is even more imperative to not drop stupid games and to come out with full force. Lexi, if Sengoku were to take this game, who needs to be on form?
I think we need to see far more from Ramune. We've already seen the rookie mid laner of Megumin. I'm already going to always hype this guy up because I'm always excited for what they've seen. We saw so much potential from them from Scouting Grounds. We saw them beat Dasher in the 1v1, though that was a very unique and special matchup. I know that is close and near and dear to Nymera, your heart. But Ramune has been a real crux for this side of Sengoku. He's been struggling to really find his place on the team. We know at the moment now Sengoku are playing with far more aggression, and they are doing that, but we need to keep seeing that because it's taken them 3 weeks to get there. Ramune is going to be a very important member. We know Paz can do this. We saw Crash do it in their previous game against Burning Core. We need to just see this from Ramune. I'm very curious about him.
So Ramune, one of those, the real veterans of the LJL, being told to step up by our resident colorcaster and Moonlight as a host, Masked Swan. Initially, I guess I'll go over to you for the side of AXIZ then, because it's only fair if I asked Masked Swan about Sengoku. If AXIZ gonna really show us something to go forwards into week 4 for them, because of course this is our last week, game of week 3, what really needs to happen for you to be more convinced of this team?
I think AXIZ look night and day depending on whether Honey has command over the game. If he gets to a point where he can just run over the game and have everyone else back him up, have Megumin as a sort of secondary carry to back him up, but he gets to be that primary damage threat, then AXIZ look incredibly dangerous. When Honey's kind of held to account, they look like a very different team, and that could potentially be due to jungle pressure, it could be due to matchups, but I do think that if AXIZ want to come up ahead, it's going to be another tough matchup. Gango and Enti have been putting up good laning stats, if nothing else. And Nemo, still a rookie, got a little bit of time to prove some stuff. But if AXIZ can get a Honey ahead, hold him up onto a pedestal, play that old RNG style of protect the president, then I think AXIZ are in with a shout here.
Yeah, and of course, it's worth noting that there are, of course, rookies across both of these squads. And the thing you're saying about Honey, it kind of reminds me of how people have talked about Kassadin in the past, where it's like, look, you don't need Kassadin to be perfect in a game, but you don't need him to have a perfect laning phase and all this other stuff. But there needs to be a point where they're happy playing into the enemy composition. Well, I think what we just saw from Honey is maybe that not being the case of the Vayne. The team fights got very snarled up, and Honey really couldn't end up coming ahead with the lead which they had within the team fights, and that was a real problem for the side of AXIZ. Problems might arise for either of these two top laners in, of course, in Paz and Inno, who have been mercurial at points. We've seen Inno pop off, we've seen him suffer. Paz had a bit of an awkward Camille game, but then, of course, still ended up coming to a win versus Burning Core. So, Lexi, going to come back over to you again because, of course, I'm paying attention to you. I've got to give you that attention. You know, I like to attend to both my casters when they're here because we do have a bit more time. Inno, coming into this split, do you think he's the level of Paz? Do you think Paz is just going to be the rock he's always been?
Paz is the Rock, and he's the previous Worlds representative. He went to Worlds at 2020. I would be surprised if is quite on Paz's level. Paz just has an extensive amount of knowledge, and you always take the knowledge over anything else, even over raw natural ability, because that kind of knowledge you can't teach it. You have to learn it. I think Paz is still one of the top laners in the LJL, just through the ability, and we saw them have a huge adaptability within the league. I think if we keep seeing the brief bits of brilliance from them, it's brief at the moment, but there are moments of brilliance. If we keep seeing that, there will be a chance that maybe come 2022 spring split, he'll be there. But it's probably going to take him a year. And at the moment, I still think Paz has an edge.
So, edges across the board, but not always going in that same direction. We've got a little bit more time. We'll get towards Champions Light at some point, just waiting up on the mainstream to do their whole shtick before, of course, we end up following along with them onto Summoner's Rift. So I'm pretty happy to give the floor. Is there anything particularly you think we've missed out in this matchup? Any real narrative you think we could go out on? We've got 2 Vayne players in the game. We've got rookies. We've got veterans. We have struggles and moments of brilliance from both teams. I guess, Initialize, heading back to you, what would be something that you'd really want to pick up on that we haven't touched on so far?
I think probably is the fact that Sengoku have actually had a bit of a resurgence. They really did not look good in the first couple of weeks. Like, there was the one win they got, but it was like a 1-3 record. Saying, oh, that's not a great look. They looked stronger again today, and like convincingly stronger. And Crash kind of coming into a bit of relevant form and had 2 really strong carry games. And if they can do the same here again, then I think they've got a shout against AXIZ, who have also, honestly, been looking pretty good. So I guess my eyes are, to an extent, of course, around that bot lane Gango and Honey, Argon Draw Eyes, of course. But I do think that a lot of that will be predicated around how well those junglers get to set up those lanes as well.
Okay, so a lot of things to dive into there, and I guess one thing to say is that, of course, we talked about it with AXIZ's last game too. AXIZ have been a team that started 0-6 and 0-8 in 2020 between spring and summer. Those are 2 awful early splits for this team. This is the best early split AXIZ have had when we've been casting them. And that says a lot. Sengoku struggled in spring too, remember? They ended up going, about, was it 2-3, 2-4 as well in that spring split, which of course they ended up finishing second in that split, taking down DFM in a best of 5 with their legacy roster of having Syros and Gang in that lineup too. This is a very different start to a split for both of these teams. You do have a bit of history in the LJL at this point. Is there any use putting any stock in that history, Lexi, and saying, oh, this is different and this changes the mindset of these teams, or is it something a little bit different entirely?
Normally, when a roster is around for about a year or 2 and you start getting that history, absolutely. The problem is not many of these players have actually played on these 2 teams for long enough for me to be doing that. Yeah, Hoglet was around for the last lineup, and yeah, NT was around for the last lineup, but coaching staff and their availability has changed for both these teams. So much will have changed with just the rosters completely evaporating and then coming back together. Remember last split we had Blank and Pyrion in the mid and jungle duo for Sengoku Gaming. Now we've got Crash and Ramune. Like these are Ramune took the summer off, and Crash is brand new to here, previously playing for J Team over in the PCS. So very different. I think now that we're starting to see Sengoku after that first week, which, as I mentioned on our podcast, if you're not subscribed, go check it out there.
Hell yeah.
Our podcast, I mentioned that I'm like, first week, you should always forgive anything and everything, because we don't have a tournament series like over in the LCS before coming in, like the LCK. We don't have an intro tournament to get everybody ready. We just go straight into Spring Split. Week 1, we saw almost every team play with mistakes. Even DFM were playing with mistakes, even in their opening match versus V3, which was a stellar first match to open the LJL with. But yeah.
Yeah, plenty of drama within that first week. There were mistakes, but the level was relatively high for a spring split. To see if that continues, though, we have ourselves a pick and ban. It's here, and you will be joined, of course, by Initialize and Mass1. Well, I take a backseat and do all the production stuff on the back end. Enjoy the cast. Take it away.
Thank you very much, Nightmare. I wish you luck with production. get your spanners out and see what you can do to keep us all running and this ship afloat. But while that's happening, myself and Maswan are at the helm, and we've got ourselves an interesting course ahead of us to plot our way through. It will be AXIZ on the blue side versus Sengoku Gaming on the red, and Inno, Hoglet, Megumin, Honey, and Nemo make up the AXIZ roster.
We got Paz, Crash, Ramune, Gango, and NT for Sengoku. Bans coming through quick and fast. 2 jungle bans targeting Hogla, that Olaf, and Udia. And over on the other side for AXIZ, it's Thresh, Seraphine, that flex pick, and Na in as the last one as Sengoku are pondering over their final ban. What do you think it could be initially?
I wonder whether it's another jungle ban. It's what DFM did against AXIZ, and Hoglet went on the Graves and found some decent counter ganks, don't get me wrong, but it was nowhere near the kind of level of dominance, honestly, that, danger that Hoglet was presenting on some of his other champions. They'll go towards the Tillia, which is another one of those jungle bans, and that's 3 junglers out against Hoglet, which will put him a little way down that priority list. And
is this with repeat bans from last time? From that DFM did?
I think they went with because they first picked the Olaf, so it was a similar jungle focus, but the Udyr was certainly banned.
Of course. Yes, the
Olaf
was
the other one banned. Pantheon, I believe, might have been a ban alongside.
Yeah, it was
Well.
Pantheon. Yeah, I think you're right with we see the Renekton being locked in. That was previously banned by AXIZ when they were on the red side, so that's immediately getting through. And because they did this, Sengoku go, oh, well, thank you very much. Kai'Sa, Lilia, thank you, AXIZ. We're okay with these two. We're okay with this. You went for the Thresh ban. I don't know why you just blind ban Thresh. Are you that scared of NT's Thresh? That's not a good place to be if you're that scared of a Thresh.
I mean, I suppose it kind of prevents the option of going towards the Aphelios or making it a lot more risky because, you really want the Thresh there to make Aphelios a lot safer. So maybe that's the thinking. Either way, it'll be AXIZ who lock in Senna and Rel. I am curious as to whether this will be a fasting Senna, and if so, does that mean Rel just gets tankier quicker, or whether this is going to be a farming Senna? Either way, it realistically means that AXIZ are going to want to be playing probably towards this Renekton and might be looking towards a Nidalee pick unless it's banned away in the second phase.
Well, we get the Scion hover. Oh, no, it's already been locked in. Actually, no, Paz is playing the Scion, and we're on the first round of banning. Okay, so Paz playing his Scion, tried, true, and tested from his V3 days as a Nidalee ban. Wow, they are going all in on Hoglet. They are like, yeah, maybe this was the player we should have identified. It wasn't Honey, it was not Megumin. It was actually Hoglet all along, the man that said, you can do it.
On the other side, though,
go for it.
So on the other side, of course, AXIZ decide to go towards the Lucian, which is something that Ramune has looked towards before. He's played it this season. It wasn't a win, but of course, Sengoku did, as we said, had a rough time of it. And a little note from production, that is Paz's 14th Scion game. It's something he's played a fair amount of, tried it in the split push options last time. Sengoku ban away the Elise, another one of those very strong pairings with Renekton. So that's Talia, Renekton, Talia and Renekton. Talia, Nidalee, and Elise away from the Renekton combos available. So I am actually very curious as to what Hoglet picks up here as his jungle choice, because, I mean, that is actually 5 straight jungle bans from Sengoku Gaming.
So I actually really don't like the Elise ban. I would have preferred a Hecarim ban. And the reason I prefer the Hecarim ban is because if we're going for a dive comp, you want to go all in. Currently, the side of AXIZ are drafting a very unorthodox comp. Okay, Megumin or no, this has to be a Megumin.
I mean, it could be in the jungle, I suppose. It's going to be Nocturne! Hoglet had something in the tag. It's the last pick. Nocturne. Of course, it could still go mid. It's something that's been done in the LJL before. But we have got a Nocturne locked in, and I am so excited.
It's on the phone because he'll probably want to watch this one, and we're gonna have to figure out what mid laner the side of Sengoku want to play. Ramune, what do you want to play into a Sylas? And it's gonna be a control mage. Makes total sense. Get the range advantage. Punish this Sylas that you just blind picked in because they're gonna have to anyway. So hey, what it is, it is. Ramune, get the Syndra versus the Sylas, and now we get to see where these comps are going and initialize Lilia versus Nocturne. How does this jungle matchup go?
I mean, Nocturne's been in a bit of a weird space in preseason, really kind of awkward trying to find his way into the game. But of course, it makes sense in some ways with this comp, right? You hit level 6 on that Renekton and then that Nocturne, and you just guess to press R and dive people really, really easy. That's the kind of joy of competitive. Of course, Megamin as well going towards the Silas, which we haven't seen loads of either. I'll be curious to see what he decides is his mythic choice. I mean, it's as kind of productions noted, it's not the easiest ult to steal in mid lane. Syndra ult pretty underpowered on Silas because, of course, you don't get the balls to steal as well, right? You don't get those Dark Spheres, so you only get like a minimum ball ultimate, which is not that exciting. But that is a lot of people who can dive in with Rel and Silas and Nocturne and Renekton all wanting to dive towers, and then Senna throwing a Dawning Shadow over the top of it. It's quite a fun comp from AXIZ, but on the other side, I mean, Sion, pretty good at playing weak side, Lilting Lullaby and Scout of the Week alongside a Nautilus and a Kai'Sa. Not necessarily the easiest champions to dive in the world.
No, absolutely not. And this top lane, Paz is never going to die versus the Renekton. In theory, this is pretty free for Paz to go, okay, I just stand here, I farm up, I do exactly what I need to do, and I just wait for my team. I play around my team, and I can come in for mid ganks at a moment's notice because, Sion ult comes back. And also, he can die and go back. We know we've seen lane swaps from Paz recently with this pick. So there's so much flexibility from the side of the side of Sengoku Gaming. I do agree with you. AXIZ's comp looks fun to play. The Silas has like 2 good ults to steal, and that's really Lilia's ult and the support who's Nautilus. I play him all the time, and his name just completely obliterated from me. They're the only 2 good ults to steal. Everybody else's is kind of
I
wonder
wonder what Sion's ult would be with a decent amount of AP behind it, because that could be quite fun. The Unstoppable Onslaught, I could imagine Silas just charging in. Could be an entertaining one as well. So maybe. I mean, he's got. I mean, obviously, Killer Instinct as well is no bad thing for Silas, I suppose. But you're right. Like the ones that are like really top tier, I imagine, are the Lilting Lullaby and the Depth Charge. But we'll see, of course. Silas very able to play around with those ults. I want to posit this question to you, Lexi. If AXIZ don't get anything going on the Renekton in levels 1 to 5, or honestly before the steel caps come through for the Sion, making him a lot harder to kill, or the first 2 Nocturne ults don't achieve anything, do AXIZ have a way to win this game?
Yeah, they've got a Senna. They always have a way. They can go to the 50-minute mark and then just end up with just like
100 stack Senna hope. Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's something you mentioned. Where are we going with this Senna? Is it going to be fasting or is it going to be farming? And we won't know until we see the first 3 minutes of this game. Well, really, actually, the first wave of this game to know what's happening. But this could still be a fasting Senna.
Yeah, it could be.
And it's not unrealistic. We are playing, I believe this is on 11.2. Fasting Senna is seeing a tiny amount of play. It's not the most popular round. If you go to the LEC, you see Reckless just going, nope, I'm taking all the farm, taking as many souls as I can get. I get given normally, and I'm just going to start off-screening people anyway. So, yeah, but that's Reckless, so it's a bit different. But I hope you're not going to be Reckless with my heart initializing this play-by-play.
I won't backstab you. It's fine. Somewhere out there, I'm seeing people dressed in long, dark clothes and a funny dyed hair. I don't know what's going on. I feel like I'm back in 2010 and the urge to scream Bullet for My Valentine lyrics is rising within me. But until such a time as that, we're going to have to sit around and maybe think about maybe not backstabbing or betraying and instead about diving, because AXIZ have decided they're sticking on the speedos, they're climbing up to the diving board, and they're looking to find the gold medal here on some of those early game dives. Because I think if they don't get anything on those early level 6 plays out of Nocturne or Hell early on in that lane when the Renekton is strong, I think they're going to struggle to find a mid-game worth playing. And yes, Senna can scale, but until she hits lots and lots of souls, she's more of a utility carry, and until there's that kind of break point of like 70-ish souls, right?
Yeah, pretty much. You need to get to that 70 soul breakpoint and then to actually turn on, well, for her to actually hit online, obviously she needs to get those 2 items down of Kraken Slayer into Rage Blade, because if you don't do that, you're going to be so far behind on your build. Every 20 stacks increases your range. I'm literally reading off of half of the production notes because I don't have this information off the top of my head, and it's brilliant. Thank you, production.
It's great. Just someone giving us the information so we don't have to go like scrolling through for the exact details. But interesting to see that it's often Kraken Slayer on carry Senna these days.
Mm.
We'll see where that goes. Of course, lethality was the old school choice, and maybe that's still a choice, but we'll see where it goes.
Yeah, Kraken Slayer has been the standard for at least the short term that I've been paying attention to center builds, basically since week 1 of competitive play. Because
Sure.
before that, I'm not a center player really, except from when she very shortly did see play as a support. But now she's an AD carry, and that's all she plays. And obviously, we're seeing Glacial out of her because it's the only correct rune page to take on Senna. If you do anything else, I think you're almost always wrong. Think you're
Glacial is
almost
just
always wrong.
really good on
So
Senna.
good on
I mean,
Senna.
we've seen other choices before. I mean, like way back in the day, you could run things like Dark Harvest on ARAM, but everyone
Of
does
course,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, but Glacial's definitely an excellent choice. Grasp has been done before with Frozen Mallet, if I recall
Oh
correctly.
god, yes, I do think you're correct about that. Yeah.
But yes, looking in at this AI bot, it's actually we're not going to talk about it because instead there's a little bit of skirmishing already as Sengoku Gaming find themselves a little early, little bush bait and get a chunk onto Nemo. But of course, it's support. You can see the power spike meter there as things flick around. But as this game goes on, it's definitely oscillating more and more towards Sengoku's favor with the scaling, at least according to Blitzcrank Sand. So we'll see how it goes, of course. And Hoglet here, not scouted out by any deep wards. So as it stands, pre-start, started on the Raptors, because of course with the Duskbringer, you can clear those pretty swiftly. We'll see what the early game plan is from Hoglet.
Yeah, this is important to note. Honey is going for the full farming center. This isn't going
He
to be
is.
fasting center. We're able to actually tell
Oh,
that if we had looked for the first
that's
items.
a decent little dredge line coming in, but of course, not too much follow-up as yet. I half wonder whether they would go a little harder, but that will at least force Honey and Nemo under tower. Hoglet goes over to the Krugs, is probably likely going towards that top side now, and yeah, it'd be this Nocturne around top lane, whereas Lilia has passed towards bot. Maybe with the Nautilus, there's a world in which you could dive down here, but it might be a little risky for Sengoku.
It's going to be risky. Sengoku have also pushed in this bot lane wave pretty hard, which is going to be really awkward for for Crush to even get any form of gank in here. I wouldn't be surprised if they just end up actually just giving up on this idea and trying to find somewhere else. They are pushed in pretty hard in the top lane, so that's at least some pathing that doesn't work at all for Crash because he started on red side, so I don't know. He's going to get Rift Herald and probably back off.
Yeah, I mean, of course, the other thing is, like, if Hoglet can help with the Renekton getting the early dive under the tower before Paz gets a chance to pick up some armor, then maybe that's a world. Colomik and the tower shot comes through, that's a bit unfortunate, especially as Hoglet was going to be around. There's no pots in inventory either, so that's just Paz getting a kind of free trade there. Crash will take Scuttle Crab in bottom, Hoglet will do the same at top, and that's kind of all she wrote for now.
Yeah, Crash is on vision, so they are aware where this Lilia is at the moment. They still don't quite know where Hoglet is, as he was on his top side, clearing, and now gets this Rift Herald, as he's going to look to try and do something else to Ramune.
Okay, but look where Crash is. Megaman could be in a spot of bother, but Crash decides, yeah, I'm not sure I want this skirmish right now, so I'm just going to smite and move away. Both of these mid-jungle duos looking for a little bit of lane control. Megaman absconds his way away and is going to be in no real danger here, but it will mean that Ramune gets the shove in before Megaman does. In goes the Crash down from there, but he does miss Gango, does get the stun with the Attract and Repel, but the turnaround is now coming through. Piercing Darkness is out, and the Ignite is burned by Enti, but they can't follow through for the kill.
No, they can't. But what's even more important to identify at this moment in time is that look at that farming CS advantage that Ramune has been able to do against Megamin in this mid lane. Megamin is falling really far behind early on, and that lead will only get exacerbated as this game goes on, as it's going to be really hard for Silas to farm.
It is, but actually the bot lane, at least Honey and Nemo do get that nice shove in there. The joys of having a Senna is, yes, you traded evenly on health bars, but Senna means you can heal your way back, and that's kind of what happened. Megamin has got a wave of so to pick up here, but he's probably down about 10 CS or so. You're absolutely right, and it is a Silas problems early. He's not the strongest early laner anymore with all the changes that have come through from him, and he's going to want to try and scale back through and try and come in the mid game, but he can't do so by falling too far behind in lane.
No. I'm willing to bet most of that 400 gold lead that Sengoku have at the moment, or 300 as it's teetering around, is almost purely through this mid lane and that CS
Probably not a bad
advantage that they
shout.
have. And it's and also partly coming from Crash as well, because this Lilia is about a camp ahead at the
Sure.
moment, just through clearing. But both these junglers are pretty similar on their clear speed, so it's fine. It's fine. We do see Paz using his teleportation, so won't have that teleportation up for when this dragon is spawning, as it looks like Lily is actually going to be able to get it, and these top laners are just smacking each other.
They are. Paz has come back with a bramble vest because, of course, he has hit the decimating smash as well, which is a bit of a irritation for Inno. Does get some healing back with the Cull the Meek, but of course, bramble vest kind of stunts that a little bit, and that means that the trade is a lot more even, I think, than Renekton was looking for. Hoglet not at level 6 yet. They know do access that this Drake's going on because of a ward in the river, but they're not going to come and contest, I don't think.
No, they weren't going to contest it. I think Paz mirroring Inno in this top lane with the teleportation use, it almost immediately signal like, yeah, the moment Paz teleported, we're not fighting for this unless we can get a crazy pick onto Crash. It's yours. That's fine. First Drake, whatever. It doesn't matter. We need to find a pick. And that's what, honestly, both these teams are looking for at the moment. Sengoku were able to find the first kind of small, tiny pick as Paz just hits himself back and isn't quite sure where he wants to go. That's fine, mate. The wave hasn't crashed yet. I always wonder when you see things like that. It's like, where are we going with this? Don't know.
I've got to call out as well that Hoglet did tick over to level 6 about 20 seconds ago. Crash is also there, but that means we now need to be looking for this Nocturne ult. Where, oh where is the first Paranoia going to come? And will Sengoku Gaming be in position to counter it? Enti is around the mid lane, throws down a control ward. Was maybe wary of a gank coming in there. But you can see Nemo was around as well, so both those supports kind of mirroring each other in the roam, and we're still kind of waiting on whether Hoglet will pull the trigger. You'll kind of want to see it the next minute or two, or things are going to start stalling out, because this game that is dead even right now, it's 100 gold that separates the squads. It's probably Sengoku favor because they're quite happy to sit and scale, whereas AXIZ really want to get their dive comp online and diving as soon as they can.
They do need to start doing this. They have got 3 diving champions with late game insurance built into Honey, who's going to be able to put huge damage going through the back line and everything else. The difference that's worth noting is the longer this game goes on, just like you said, Initialize, this will keep going in Sengoku's favor. We have gone on for about a minute, and all we are seeing is Hoglet doing his clear, just trying to make sure everything's fine, but not pressuring. And if that keeps going on, it's only going to enable Sengoku to play the game, play the tempo of the game that they want to play. And Crash is already looking to try and get another jungle camp, which is a mutual objective for both these teams.
You can see the Herald indeed is being started, and Sengoku Gaming are first to the draw. They've got 3 control wards in a beautiful little triangle around all the entrances into the river, which is making AXIZ's job of coming to contest very challenging. I think they're just going to have to give this one up, potentially even, but there goes Hoglet. He's stepping forward. Nemo is there as well. Paranoia now popped. In goes Hoglet. The Attract Repel was attached in. Dawning Shadow comes across. Megamin does miss the Abduct Abscond. Hoglet secured the Herald, though, and no one has died quite yet, but up goes Hoglet, knocked into the air for first blood for Gango, who comes in with a killer instinct. Paz still dueling with Inno, who's got the dominance, rolling with might. Looking, where's the flash? Looking to get in, flash away from Paz, but the slice and dice forwards. Not quite enough damage, though, means that Paz will escape, though he did have to flash to safety. Crash now potentially looking with the bowling ball, but it goes a little wild, and that won't be a strike coming in. Herald over for first blood. Probably a fairly even trade.
Pretty even, but it's like, get Herald, but lose your jungler and give first blood over to the enemy AD carry. Not ideal. Honey has been spending a lot of time in the spot lane, but hasn't been able to balloon into much of a CS lead. However, he has stabilized, gotten a wave. He's going to be okay. What's going to be really important to note is when this dragon comes up, when do they drop this? When do they actually drop this Rift Herald down? When they fight for this dragon? What's worth noting is how well they collapse onto this Nocturne. If they didn't collapse anywhere near as effectively, they wouldn't get the kill. Hoglet would have been able to probably get away. He had flash up, if I remember rightly, in that replay. So he probably would have been able to get away if they didn't collapse effectively. Well played by the members of Sengoku.
He was trying to use the Darkspringer to speed his way to the wall to flash out, which wasn't quick enough, of course. Nocturne, no dashes in his kit, aside from the Paranoia, which takes you one way and one way only, namely
Yeah.
in. And he did that to get the Herald, so at least they got that. You're right, but it is that first blood over, and it keeps the gold dead even right now. And CS is pretty stable across the board. Ramune has that slight lead in mid, as a slight lead in top and bot for AXIZ that matches that, though.
Yeah, I'd really like if AXIZ decide to put a bit of this gold from the Rift Herald into the mid lane and actually put it back into Megamin, and so he doesn't fall much further behind than he already is. The other option is obviously to just send it down to the spot lane and try and turn on this Senna far earlier than you were planning. It's a little bit more volatile if you're doing that, because this Senna is meant for like...
That is a potential engage in the bot side. You can see Hex flashing over the wall, crashes here as well, but look at Hogley, he's around as well! The Paranoia comes out, the fear tethers, crash, down goes Nemo, he's staying alive for a bit, the Lilting Lullaby is good, but Honey does get the kill onto Nautilus. It's a 1-for-1 right now. Gango, Killer Instinct forward, but Megamin is here, trying to get out from the fear block, but it's good, the Piercing Darkner into the Dawning Shadow means 2 kills for Honey, who has shrunk all the health bars. A final auto for Ramune will secure a kill onto the Nocturne, but Megamin turns it back around onto Lily, and Honey stepping forward with those glacial autos, runs down Ramune, who does manage to well buffer that scatter the weak to keep himself alive. A lot of kills across the board, but it's a 3-for-2 in favor of AXIZ.
Yeah, and this Senna, who I was like, there's a bit of a pro and a con for actually putting gold into her. Well, it doesn't matter if she gets kills, because then you can't control that one. Honey gets enabled and turns on the Kraken Slayer already at the 12 minutes mark into this game as we come into this replay, and there is going to be a fair few things to talk about. Look at NT, he's so deep, and then Crash comes out with a complete fog of war. They miss there, and the Paranoia goes there. Now look at where Gango is. He gets to come in, and no one really is expecting him to be there. Lilting Lullaby comes down, and they get so much damage down, they just remove that Rel, but it doesn't matter, because then look at this, they just line up in a row. Hoglet does get pretty far ahead, and sadly obviously does die to that one auto attack coming through, but Honey identifies, hey, we're going to be able to get this kill onto Crash, we don't need to worry about that. He tries to go for it, they buffer that, and they do get the dragon for this. Sengoku actually do get a consolation prize, even though they arguably lost the fight.
Oof.
Now Honey... Ooh, go for it.
Just saying, top lane looked a little bit dicey there for a moment as Inno got chunked up pretty low. Not quite sure how that happened, but you're right. It's second Drake over to Sengoku. The turret plates went over to AXIZ in the bot side as they used the Herald, and that leaves us with about a 500 to 600 gold lead for AXIZ, but Drake stacking for Sengoku. And now you can finish your point.
So the last part of that was the fact that obviously Honey and Ramune were basically playing the flash game of who's going to flash, who's going to use the knockback first. I think Honey was basically going out of range for his for Senna. So if he wasn't able to do that, he was going to have to do some crazy flash prediction to auto Q kill the Syndra. Ramene's a bit too smart and is like, well, you're going to probably only be able to do it here. I always get to run away as long as I do X, Y, and Z. Did that, didn't die. Pretty important, because if they had lost Ramune in that, they wouldn't be able to get that dragon that they ended up getting. Fun note. Initialize about this Syndra for Ramune. This Syndra game for Ramune means that it ties LeBlanc for his most played champion of all games, being 11 games. If he wins this, it also ties the win rate. Now, I don't know what the win rate is, but I'm hopeful it's positive, because if it's negative,
so am I.
That's not good.
I'll keep an eye on that.
I assume it is, because he almost always went to Worlds or international play, so I'm
good
quietly confident.
Yeah, he's having a pretty good game this fight. It was a good flash, secure the kill onto the Nocturne. It was a great buffer on that scatter the weak to prevent Honey from getting the kill as well. And that's good news. Honey on the other side, though, is once again up to a 2-0-1 lead on his AD carry. Like, how does this guy keep doing this? This is so many games in a row that he just finds kills.
I told you, Initialize. I told you about this guy. I told you to invest early on. He's already got his Rage Knife. He picked up a dagger, and he's well on his way to get that Rage Blade. There's lots of pokings happening, and Senna is starting to get them stacks in. I'm trying to find out if there's anywhere I can find out more information about their stacks, but unless I think they bring it on stream, we won't know.
But we might be seeing a fight now, because here comes a teleport. The paranoia is popped in onto Ramone, who goes golden buys time. There is the dawning shadow, and 2 are dead already. AXIZ get 1 back onto Nocturne. The lilting lullaby is there. Will this be enough to turn it around? Honey stays alive until just now. The Scion gets that one, and Sengoku Gaming are running the back end of the fight until Ino goes in with a massive Gull the Meek. The decimating smash means that it's a quadra kill for Baz, and Ino and the Renekton continue to fight. He's got the red buff, you're right, but look at the healing, look at the shielding. Ino is trying the decimating smash, but the stun, and Ino gets the fight. What a bloodbath. What plays from the top laners was that one?
I thought the red buff was gonna be enough. That's why I kept shouting it out. The red buff. He's got red buff. He's got red buff. It didn't matter. That was a beautiful state of play. AXIZ prevailed at the end of it. It ended up being just a absolute fiesta. I'm gonna be honest with you, Initial. There's no other way of doing this. I really like that Hogla identified the most important person for me to go on. And look at this. Megamin is teleporting in the back. They had a great idea. The stopwatch kind of prevented a lot of those ideas. However, they get beautiful Dawning Shadow and goes across. The problem is, look at where Honey is. No one's protecting Honey. Lilting Lullaby comes out, and now Gango goes, oh, well, I can just kind of collapse on him. Paz is like, well, I'll collapse on him. And then he just died. Imagine if they had Honey for all of this fight. Now, Ino stepped up, got a huge double kill there, and obviously Megumin, sadly, is a bit too close to Paz. Now, a bit of juggling of the aggro here from the side of AXIZ. This could have been a really clean fight, and they could have got an ace and maybe only lost like 2 to 3 members of the team, not all 4 instead of just, at the end. But they're able to do it. It was a 4v5, so not the best spot for AXIZ, but they got it. They're slightly ahead now in gold. Okay, this is going to be an interesting one, Initialize. It's definitely going to be interesting.
It really is, and it looked so good to begin with. They get the 2 kills, but then Crash gets a great lilting lullaby, which has Gango up to go in for a mad killer instinct, and then Paz just hits like 2 or 3 huge decimating strikes and gets a 5,000 damage team fight on Scion. Sengoku Gaming, they were looking to try and get a hold of Hoglet here, though. They're going to go in with that Dredge Eye, and Hoglet is in so much trouble. Flashes out, but the lilting lullaby is there. The healing is actually really good, and the vision going down is massively bad for Sengoku Gaming. They're going golden. NT goes up into the sky because he's being sent to heaven on an express one-way trip. Visual bugs indeed, and that is a game pause. Indeed, I don't think it would have saved him, whatever the referees might tell you.
Pause from that, because it's just always funny. Production actually zooms in on it and goes, hello, and that's not even our production. Even though Nymera, I imagine, would have tried his absolute best to do the exact same. That was, I'm... Oh, I feel like the official stream now with their laughing. What is this game, Initialize? What is going on? That identification from Hoglet to throw down the paranoia to basically win that fight for AXIZ was so smart, and you rarely see defensive Nocturne ults come out.
It was inches away from a great pick for AXIZ, but he flashed away before the lilting lullaby can arm. The paranoia is there, and they lose vision.
And he gets to live. And the heals from Honey, right? Like you said, as you were doing it.
And then NT just disappears in a second here, gets knocked up for miles, and has no way out there. I don't necessarily think that would have saved him, but it is a bug, so we'll see what that means. And that's kind of where we're at.
Fun fact for production. We've got information about Syndra on the KDA. 54.5 win rate on this LeBlanc. 55% currently on this Syndra. Now, if he doesn't get it, it's going to be super important, because now he's going to have a negative win rate with Syndra, meaning we're going to see definitely another game from Ramone on this Syndra, because you gotta equal out the win rate. You always gotta have the 50%. Can't have a negative win rate, right? You've got to always be positive. That's the Aria philosophy, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big one. You want that positive win rate. Of course, last year it really hurt Ramone's win rates on a lot of his big champs. He was playing some Syndra, playing some LeBlanc, and it didn't work out. Of course, the Hawks had a rough time. But curious to see where this game pause actually leaves us, as well. See, it's looking pretty good for AXIZ right now. They've at least been winning some scraps. Even if they've not found like the absolute clean dives we were hoping for, they've at least been coming out with some decent engages, and people are getting the right people are getting kills in these team fights. Obviously, Mega Man's picked up a couple. Honey, obviously, looking pretty good as well. On the other side, Sion got a quadra. He'll get nice and tanky, and not the best anti-tank options for AXIZ. But
a fun fact
it's not like
from
it's...
production. There has only ever been one professional Sion pentakill. We would have seen the second of all time, with that last kill have gone over. It's only once in 5 years, 6 years now of professional play from Sion. Also, hi, I thought I'd come back because it's going to be a long pause, I'd imagine.
It could well be a very long pause indeed. Nice to have you back with us, Nara. What a fact to come and join us with on that one. It would have been the second ever Sion Penta. Alas, Inno dashes all those hopes and finds the kill. They both stunned each other at the same time, and I was like, this is going to get real close. But Cole the Meek is exactly what you needed.
Exactly. So I guess kind of coming back into this, watching this game from the background, and you two casting it. So this Sion from Paz, let's talk on this again, because Paz has gone back to this time and time again, and oh man, the camera's the wrong way around again because it does flip everything. But I guess, what was the impact of this Sion beyond what you just thought about the laning magic? Because it seems like it's been impacting these fights quite a lot.
Sion's far more meta than it should be. Like it's not in the meta. Actually, no, I didn't phrase that at all correctly. Let me restart that sentence. Okay, Sion should be far more in this meta than he currently is at the moment, because the negation that he's doing to Renekton is huge. Now, the problem is, it doesn't matter what I'm saying right now, because once we get playing on 11.3, we're probably only going to see Sion. Well, we might actually start seeing Sion, hilariously. But Renekton will probably disappear out of the metagame because of the Gore Drinker nerf. So, we're definitely going to be in a weird spot. I love this. I love seeing Paz on this side. I want to see more of this because it's hilarious when a pocket pick starts looking far more meta. The other thing I'm super wondering about is, what do you think about hard banning Hoglet 5 bans Nymara? That's aggro onto a player.
It absolutely is, but it's something we've been talking quite a lot about AXIZ in terms of Hoglet being really important to how the team performs, because if he is ganking lanes, and often he's on the ganking junglers, not really the carry junglers, he ends up setting up his team really, really well. Again, it kind of reminds me of how, say, Jankos used to play back in 2019 when it was people going towards more, like ganking junglers, or even last year, right? When the meta was more carry junglers. It's just that Hoglet needs to do that for his own playstyle. He's a little less flexible than some of the junglers in the LJL. Like, his Graves has not always been too good, but his Volibear was absolutely excellent. Banning away his comfort champions, which he does well for his team on, very, very important. I am surprised that we haven't seen a little more Nocturne, particularly with a lot of Camille and Galio in the meta, because it often does shut down those kind of competitions, particularly Twisted Fate too, right? But seeing it come out in this game, and also AXIZ not commit to like widening the map enough, is a bit of a problem. So I guess yeah, the Nocturne, I like the pick, but I don't think AXIZ are playing particularly well around it so far, although that might just because the game has been very scrappy.
Exactly, because it feels like, for me, like, Nocturne is very binary. Like, if you don't make those first couple ultimates work, then you're in trouble. And it's not even like the last couple ultimates have been, how do I put this? It's not even like the last couple ultimates have actually been all that bad from Hoglet either, actually, honestly, because the first one, Gotham Herald, stole it away even. That's kind of nice. He dies his first bug, but it's a Herald for one. That's not that bad. And then you see the second one around the bottom lane fight as well, where he goes in. It's a 2 for 3, very nearly a 4 for 2 in favor of AXIZ. But again, he's like, it's not bad, right? It's just not cleanly in their favor either, and that's been sort of part of the problem, is it's not been unilaterally in their favor. You've seen that actually Sengoku Gaming have picked up a couple kills, some stuff in the back end of these skirmishes as well. Hell, we saw that last skirmish, AXIZ got 2 kills straight away. It was a 3v5, and then Sion goes man mode in the back of it, and it becomes a 5 for 4. And yes, AXIZ are getting slightly better ends of these fights, but it's not cleanly in their favor either, and that worries me as the game goes on.
So, I guess, looking at Sengoku's week 1, we thought they were not great. Thought they were struggling. Now do we have to say, does that seem like Sengoku was that? Does that seem like that was just the odd moment out? Or what's happening with Sengoku and their level of play? Is this a steady increase, or was week 1 just an anomaly?
personal opinion comes into
Go
this
for
one
it. We're
pretty
podcasting.
big.
It's a pause.
All right. Personally, this isn't good enough for me to really change my point of view. I came into this thinking AXIZ would win. Where we're currently at, I think AXIZ will win. I think Sengoku are drafting better, and I think they're playing slightly better. But I think the problem is they're starting to play. They're starting to get in now. Maybe come super week 5, week 6. Absolutely, I think we will totally be seeing a different change in Sengoku, assuming they keep going on this trajectory of winning more games and taking games away. But beating a game against Burning Core, who are currently sitting 1-5, beating a game versus what? Who did they beat last week? The Fukuoka Hawks, who are currently 2-4. Is it quite enough for me to be able to turn that dime? They need to be AXIZ. It needs to look a lot cleaner, which it's not going to do. So it's going to be a rough and tumble for Sengoku moving forward for me.
So, some work yet to be done. I will say, though, you were talking about Ramune and how he needs to turn up and show us some more stuff. I mean, just sitting in the background, I've seen a couple of really good Syndra stuns. There was first off the one onto the Nocturne at the Herald fight, for instance, where we know that Nocturne was trying to flash over his jungle wall and get away to safety. The flash Syndra stun when Nocturne was out of range for flashing over there into the Cyanol was really well calculated. In the bot lane, when we saw the center flash forward to try and kill, gets the scout of the week just as Honey flashes forward. It seems like actually Ramune is on a comfort champion, but one that's actually slightly more meta than LeBlanc and a couple of other chip picks, which he's not really found so much success on. Is this now going to be something where we're like, oh, we're just going to ban away Syndra from Ramune, he's not going to have any more useful picks? Is this what we're actually heading towards?
Who knows? I mean, like, he's also pulled out things like the Lucian and the LeBlanc before, and, he can make those up, but they're not the best picks in the current meta. Honestly, mid lane has very much been around control mages, plus I suppose some of these roamers like TF and Galio come to mind as well, who aren't quite in the same vein. But it's not really been the likes of LeBlanc or Akali being the primary choices. I suppose the exception might be Yone, who I suppose is somewhat meta at the minute and a little bit less in that control mage standpoint. And that's not necessarily been what Ramone's wanted to go to across his career, at least at his first choice.
I'm actually going to disagree with Initial Eyes here.
Ooh,
no,
spicy.
you do have to ban Syndra. She is the second most played, second or third most played mid laner in the world at
Orianna
the moment.
And then
Twisted Fate.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, TF's much more banned, I suppose, too.
Exactly, yeah. TF has like 150 plus bans in wildcard and top regions, whereas Syndra has 105, but has 110 games played, whereas Twisted Fate only has 50 and only has 83. Like that's still like a 50% of the time you're gonna see a Syndra in a game. If you're playing against Ramune, I think you just ban it and just go, yeah, you just ban this, you ban. But we haven't seen a huge Twisted Fate performance out of him for a while. I imagine he plays it rather well. I mean, a lot of the mid laners.
I can do that. I have the ability.
You can do that. But honestly, if the Syndra is a big pocket pick for them, it's their most played champion, or tied rather for their most played champion. Yeah, just ban that and just be like, yeah, you can play LeBlanc. She's honestly
not that great right now. Yeah.
No,
so,
she's
fun
not.
fact: Ramune has never played Twisted Fate. He's never played it.
Well,
he's played for a while.
Wow.
He's played since Season 7, and he's never picked up the Twisted Fate. Admittedly, has faded in and out of meta, but it's definitely been around at points. Oh, did we actually just lose Lexi?
I don't know.
No, he's still here. Lexi is still here.
My camera has frozen. Let me refresh.
His voice is there, but we've got a bit of a freeze frame on his face.
Oh no, we're gonna have to chrono break our own cast.
No,
I'm back. I'm back.
Yes, you are.
There we go. But I mean, I think there's some truth to that. Like Ramune, I guess what I'm saying is Ramune historically hasn't been a huge control mage, like supportive play. He's always wanted to be the playmaker, and Syndra, even as a control mage, is more in that vein, right? Not that she's...
No, Vayne was in last game. Yes,
I'm aware. Yeah, okay, I knew that pun was coming. I stopped you. I tried to stop you. And I'm not sure this is necessarily the best meta for him, is what I'm getting at. Like his Syndra is good, but like, is he that much of a Galio player? Is he that much of an Orianna player at the minute? I mean, I guess time will tell.
Okay, so it looks like we're getting some information coming through from the casters, and Sajiporo, thank you very, very much for translating over on the mainstream. Of course, we're so busy with this, and also I don't speak Japanese. Apparently, the word is from the officials that when Silas's stolen Nautilus ultimate landed, Senna's auto attack landed too. The confusion was only graphics, so the game will keep going on, say the casters on the mainstream. So what that hopefully means is that you get to see less of me, and we get to go on with the game and on with the show. Waiting for that to obviously return on the mainstream though, so we'll get back to that. Damn, Silas stealing our game time. That's actually it. He's become. Viego came out and Viego started stealing so much more. It's like, wait, what the hell? You just do me but better. So I was like, I'm now going to start stealing the viewer's time and your own convenience. It's really truly a leg up in the stealing meta.
Shirtless, pretty anime man with a cause fights against the world. Feels like a fairly standard trope in League of Legends.
I say, like, which one are you talking about, Silas or Viego? There's like, there's a lot to go on here. Gosh.
We just got new Aphelios skin. Like, at some point, we're going to have a shirtless Aphelios skin coming out, and like, he'll be anime pretty boy. Yeah. Yeah, it'll be like an Air Gear kind of thing where he just rips it off and just is like, ah. Oh.
Look, all I'm saying is we're casting the LJL, the land of the Bishonen, and this is where we're at. So there is, that's just the way it is. Alas, we are now going to be back into game though, so that's all well and good. And that does mean we have to bid adieu to Nightmare. Thank you for coming and joining us. But we've got a Rift Herald summon in mid. AXIZ have got themselves the man advantage, and they're going to start shoving into that mid lane turret and use that pressure to rotate over to this dragon and prevent Soul Point from Sengoku.
While that happens, the members of AXIZ are going to keep pushing this advantage. Obviously, they just had killed... Wait, we had
They
that
killed NT, yes.
Oh, they killed NT, yes.
The Nautilus, who went flying up to heaven, ascended. The Rapture came for him, courtesy of Honey and Megamin.
And now we get to look at the game state and go, okay, well, Baron's coming up. This is something that both the teams, if they leave it for too long, could be a problem. Obviously, the side, though, of AXIZ are not the best at taking it because their AD carry isn't an auto-attacking champion. It's a Senna. It's going to be scaling, and eventually it will be able to two-shot the Baron, but she is not at that point right now. Obviously, I'm being facetious. You can't two-shot it. But Hoglet on this Nocturne will be able to help hugely with doing that damage, as well will Megami on this Silas. So it's going to be a close one. I doubt any of these teams will rush it unless something crazy truly happens.
I'll have to wait and see. Of course, it does leave us with AXIZ at about a 2,000 gold lead. After all things are said and done, they got that first turret, they got the Drake, they got a couple more kills, and they're feeling relatively happy in this game. Like, both the mid and AD carry, the Silas and the Senna, at a pretty decent point. The Renekton also pretty strong. Like, the Nocturne isn't as snowballed as you perhaps would like, but they're feeling all right now, Lexi.
I mean, he turned around. Hoglet is like, oh man, I'm not doing so well. But I turned around Megamin, who was far behind. He was like he was over 10 CS behind and was always constantly trying to catch back up with Ramune. Ramune is now behind Megamin by about 1k worth of gold. So that just means, oh, okay, cool. Well, my mid lane is absolutely fine. This is a Silas. If they can steal the Nocturne, if they can steal, rather, I wish they could steal the Nocturne, the Nautilus, or they can steal the Lilia ult. They've got options in this game. Now we just need to see how it gets worked, as these top laners will just do fighting and slapping in the bot lane now.
Hurting himself with all these trades. The completed Thornmail is a nasty bit of work for Spaz. It's getting very much the advantage in the trades as it stands. That's through a Gore Drinker, but it's the second item complete. That's really making Inno's life a little bit difficult right now. Would love a Black Cleaver in here to try and stay alive around about now.
Well, that's pretty bad for the side of Sengoku, that a lot of their golden resources is on a Scion of all. That's not going to help them really win a lot of these team fights. Yeah, they might have a huge tank that's going to be able to sustain forever, but Honey is going to eventually be able to get through that with Hoglet, with Nihon.
Yeah, I mean, that's a question I actually wanted to bring up to you. Do you think this Senna is going to be able to deal with Scion? Because, I mean, Senna, historically, generally speaking, is not a great tank killer.
No, she's not. But the thing is, the rest of the lineup of Sengoku, that is the damage, pretty squishy. Very squishy, actually.
True.
Like, 4 auto attack squishy for Asena. This Syndra will just get deleted. This Kai'Sa will get deleted. She needs the time. She needs to be backed up. However, her team have the tools for that. We have a Nocturne, Paranoia, very good at that. We have a Renekton, very good at just like holding the front line, preventing anybody else from coming forward. We have a Silas, again, very good at that. this is weirdly turning into protect the center. They were a dive comp that is now becoming protect the center. It's not the best lineup for it, but hey, they have the tools to try and make it work. I'm interested to see if AXIZ can do this. They've still kept that 2-ish K gold lead, which is the longer this game goes on, the means less and less, really. So it's going to be important to see which turrets get taken down, and this dragon that comes up in 1 minute 30, what happens around that fight.
Okay, keep your eyes as well, of course, on Hoglet, who has got himself to a paranoia being available again. That was a weird way of phrasing that. Basically, I'm saying Nocturne go diving one more time, so we'll see how that goes. The last few ones have been impactful. They've just not been entirely clean, as we've kind of been discussing. And as it stands, actually, Sengoku have kind of pulled that goal back to about 1,500, if that, actually, after catching a few waves and pulling things around. And you know, as this game goes on, as this Scion becomes increasingly tankier, and maybe as Kai'Sa starts to, and this Lilia and the Syndra get to a couple more items, they become quite scary in and of themselves. Because, you know, while Sengoku are certainly squishy, it's not like the side of AXIZ are massively tanky either.
They're not. They are relying heavily on the fact that they have a Renekton who has just got their Gorge. No, they've got their Gore Drinker. Yes. They've got their Sterix. This is pretty much as tanky as Renekton's ever going to get. He's going to pretty much stay at this like line of tankiness. He will not get tankier, unlike Scion, who will get progressively tankier, but their damage will start to fall off. It's like a give and take kind of thing. The top lane didn't get anywhere near as scaled, but then I don't think anyone expected Paz to get a quadra kill. So we're in a real weird spot in this game initialized. It's hard to analyze it when you've got a Scion who's just 4-1 and is like threatening a lot.
Yes, indeed. Of course, Sengoku now looking to try and fight for this third Drake. They're going to get an engage onto Nemo. He gets stunned in place, but the Magnet Storm is big. The Dawning Shadow as well comes across, and it is not quite night-night for a number of Sengoku Gaming members who have just about managed to escape. Gango and Enti live on slivers of HP, and now Paz is desperately trying to get something out of this fight, but it will be a shutdown across. Hoglet dies, though, which means the jungler is dead. No smite for Sengoku Gaming, and Honey takes about half his HP bar as Paz's zombie tries to run him down. AXIZ with the man and health bar advantage just about, but they are down the smite.
They have got a Senna who's always going to be able to help heal, and they're pushing in. Their Crash has just got no good way in. The side of AXIZ need to identify this and push in and actually get this dragon advantage. They've got the ability to push in. They can start it, but they need to try and bait Crash in first.
They do, and Paz has teleport. Hoglet does not, and does not have paranoia as yet either, which means this Scion could be here, and he's just that frontline one more time and becomes as difficult as he already was to deal with. Sengoku Gaming going to start this up, but look where Inno is. He's onto Gango, trying to get the kill and gets a shutdown onto the Kai'Sa before anything else comes through. Here comes the stolen Paz ult from Megamin. Scion's unstoppable onslaught used by AXIZ. They don't get the Drake, but they're winning the team fight right now. Paz has come in. The paranoia used again. Honey trying to stay alive, but Paz gets the shutdown. They lose the team fight. Do Sengoku, but they will at least get that dragon. They'll be at Ocean Soul Point. Can AXIZ get anything more out of the back end of this fight now?
And that's the question. They could go for the Baron, but it's pretty risky. Paz is just so tanky. They've not identified anything, and AXIZ is just kind of running around the map trying to find something, but there's nothing really good for them to take except for this Baron. But for whatever reason, they're not going for it. I'm guessing because they're too scared that Crash will be able to come up. Or Paz is just going to be such a difficult problem as we come into this replay. Sengoku just kind of force their way in because they do have that smite advantage that you identified. They have no idea that Inno is here and just absolutely removes Gango before he can do anything in this fight. Missing this Scion ult is pretty tilting, honestly, for Megamin, because missing that meant that he couldn't try and delete anybody else and get help for the rest of the team. They do give over the dragon, obviously, to Crash, because Crash can just take it. They weren't able to burst him down by any stretch of the imagination. But losing Honey is pretty big shutdown gold, but it's all going on to Paz. Paz is just going to be so much further into this game and further into his field, but he's also at a level disparity. Inno is 16, Paz is 15. That's not what you expect to see when your top laner is meant to have a bunch of gold funneled into them. Hilariously, Inno is actually ahead in gold at the moment.
Well, partly that's because Paz lived, he died, he lives again, he teleports back in, and
Dies
he
again,
does
and
get out. We did at least get the shutdown there, which was something. But you're right, it's onto the Scion, who's, already really damn tanky, very difficult to deal with. He's got that Imbecile Mask in infantry as well now, and that makes, AXIZ's job of killing off the backline, or the front line rather, increasingly challenging. But this Kai'Sa 1 and 3, Syndra 1 and 2, not at the same level as a 4 and 1 Sylas, a 4 and 2 Senna as well, which definitely could prove challenging. And the 1-3-1, I don't think this Ramune has a lot of space. He's going to get dived on, knowing there's no room for him to get stunned. There comes the stopwatch. Megaman going to try and get in, but Ramune stays alive, and Megaman didn't fancy going for the dive himself, so takes a lot of damage as Ramune, but does survive, and that paranoia doesn't really amount to much aside from a popped stopwatch for a moment or two.
Yeah, the stopwatch going down is pretty useful, and they do. I have to imagine Paranoia will get up way before his stopwatch, and just looking at the time, that's absolutely correct. So they know they can keep pressuring this. The reason that that Megaman didn't go at anything is because they were completely unaware of any vision. It's just clearing some wards. Just like, I can just slice and dice over this, or just slice, I guess, over, because you have to get the dice proc. So now we're just going to be waiting for the next objective to come up, which is probably going to be this dragon, because neither of these teams wants to dare look at Baron out of the fear that they might throw the game at that little objective.
Okay, well, we'll wait and see how it goes. Of course, we've got more room to see where like this game could go in a couple different ways. I guess is where I'm trying to go. Sengoku Gaming have got themselves at Soul Point. Ocean Soul would be a big deal, especially when, of course, AXIZ are trying to get, are kind of stuck in some of these extended team fights, and it's like, suddenly Gango stays a bit alive a bit longer than he should have done. Ramune, Crash, the same. Paz is already a nightmare. If he's got Ocean Soul backing him up, it becomes even more problematic, as here comes the dive onto Paz, who will get interrupted. The fear's going to be there, but he's just so tanky. This is taking a mile to do even 20% of his HP. They're continuing to chase him down. There is the last embrace that I think actually did miss. And Paz, I think he's going to be able to walk away. He just walks menacingly away from them all, and they can't stop him.
He did have to use his ult for that, but it's already halfway done on its cooldown. 60 missed. We're getting close to that limit-breaking part that Honey has been so desperately hoping to get to. That's 61. We're going to be counting the souls now for Honey, because once he gets 70, all right, this center actually turns on. It's hilarious that we're 28 minutes into this game, and I'm about to be, and the player that is 4, 2, and 8, I'm saying, oh, okay, now they're about to turn on. But that's just how Senna works at the moment. She's so close. Honey is 62, I believe, when we last looked. So getting there. However, it's not going to be up of Ocean, which is a big deal for AXIZ. This center isn't going to be perfectly online coming into this first dragon fight. How? AXIZ have already got a bit of vision.
Is she going to be online enough, though, Lexi? Because she's got herself a stopwatch, and she's got herself 3 items, including this rapid-fire cannon to extend her already fairly extensive range. They're teleporting in behind. Paranoia is here. Gango getting jumped on, trying to survive. The fear proc is around. Inno gets slept by the lilting lullaby. Gango goes golden, but down goes Enti. Megaman gets that one. Inno trying to stay alive, causing as much chaos as he can. Ramune flashing out, will survive for now, but Megaman gets his way in for a triple kill on the Sylas, and Paz will fall as well. AXIZ find 4-4-1.
They can get both Dragon and Baron off of this, and that was a gorgeous team fight by the side of AXIZ. They pick apart all of the members of Sengoku, one by another. This teleportation straight from Inno into the Paranoia. They've done this once before. They won a team fight for it. It almost didn't work out for them, but they won it. Remember earlier on when Paz got that quadra kill? They got it. It worked out beautifully for them. This time around, it was 10 times better. Oh god, that was a hold on that one.
Oh yeah, Crash went to try and get the Ocean Soul, desperate to find something back. The stolen lilting lullaby will not be followed up on, but they get the Ocean Drake, preventing Ocean Soul. They get the Baron, and sure as hell got this team fight. Take me through it, Lexi.
All right, so you can see that teleportation coming in. Paranoia immediately going on to Gango, and they knew they wanted to have him dead immediately. Look at where Lilia is. Lilia's trying to do everything onto Inno. Crash used everything on Inno, and then watch this. Huge flash. I don't even know what's knocking everybody up there. I think it's the Sylas knock up, but gets both of them down, kills the squishies immediately, and then Paz is just left to his own devices. Crash used everything on Inno, and what, Inno ended up tanking turret at the end of that. It did absolutely nothing. Beautifully played, and you can start to see some of the problems we've seen from Sengoku in their previous weeks starting to rear their head, and this isn't what we were seeing for the first several minutes of this game. The first 20 minutes, this wasn't the Sengoku we had seen. Look at Honey. Oh my. Just being allowed to AFK
Look,
auto is really strong, right?
I know this guy has 680 DPM, but he has also had 2 games where he's been the major damage threat against a Scion. So
Yeah, I mean, that helps pad your numbers.
It does a little, but that is some mad numbers either way. Honey definitely pulling off a little bit of those movie references we mentioned before. Fights going on again, but Sengoku Gaming are here in force. Teleport coming through. That will be Megamin in a difficult spot behind Teji. As Hogler paranoias onto Crash, continue to chase onto the Lilia. Inno gets a huge shield. The Dawning Shadow comes through. Watch Megamin as well. He's got that unstoppable onslaught. Could look for something big stun from Ramune, but just not enough damage. And Sengoku tried to turn around that fight, but no one dies. And with Baron still on the table, AXIZ can shove in this mid lane.
Yeah, and this is actually really well played. Sengoku understand that they're actually always on the back foot. Even when they feel like they're ahead and they're actually winning a team fight, it's going okay for them. Baron is a problem. The side of AXIZ, the second they're like, yeah, guys, okay, you just push this away, Ramune, that's fine. We'll go actually around to top. That's okay. They lose the bot lane turret then, and now Inno just keeps doing it. Sengoku have to reset because the pure amount of healing that Honey offers is going, but they're looking for...
They try to find the engage, and they don't quite find it. Nemo has got retract. Appel does stun briefly, but the decimating smash comes out. Gango comes flying in. That is an important kill. They get 1, but all the while, Inno has been shoving in and does secure the inhibitor. Now, Ramune stepping forwards will shove the Renekton back.
Look behind him,
That's
though.
important. And here comes the re-engage, but the paranoia is popped. They're trying to prevent this engage coming in, and instead, AXIZ pull the trigger. Big amount of damage onto Empty. Crash as well, going low. Watch for the lilting lullaby. It stuns 2 in place for the decimating smash, and of course the scout of the week, but it's still a double onto Honey, who is pulling back all the damage, and Honey has got them all. It's 1-4-3 in favor of AXIZ, and they're going to try and shove in and end the game.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think they're going to be able to do it at this point in time. 3 members, key members of this side. Paz is still away, Ramune is still here, and let's see if they can do it.
Megamin does steal the Syndra ult, looking to pop that unleashed power. Megamin waiting for the timer to go out, gets stunned in place, looking for an explosion, yells Megamin, and he gets the kill on the fountain.
Yeah, they're not going to be able to actually get any more out of this, but they do end up pushing a huge amount. That turret, I thought was like less than 1 HP, that Nexus turret, as well as also that inhibitor is going down extremely low. So look at this disengage that comes out. Well, rather, this is the engagement from Sengoku. Wow, we're going really far back. This kill, onto the rel, super important. Gango obviously comes in, is going to take the package and come in, but then they get this, and now they're using a teleportation from Sion to come around, but they don't have great vision, and the moment they see Paz is not with the rest of the squishy members, they're like, oh, okay, well, we can just go in. Enti, you're not very tanky anymore. This game's far further than you're happy away for it to be, and Honey just gets to go 1, 2, 3. That's easy, and now we just win this team fight, guys. It's free. We just get to keep pushing. That's what AXIZ have done, and they're just opening far more of this game than they really want to be. Honey has definitely hit his 70 souls by now.
He is a like full-on artillery piece right now. The range on those Senna autos is disgusting. Attach Senna to a satellite right now because she is like an orbital weapons platform. It's dumb, actually dumb. 23 kills to 11. That is 34 kills in 35 minutes for those who are wondering.
Okay,
oh boy.
Look at
we have got an Ocean Drake coming up in about 5 seconds. Sengoku would love this. Desperately want the Ocean Soul, but they just can't enter their own jungle right now. They have got a teleport, I suppose, on Ramune to maybe do this, but Hogler was going to solo out the Drake, and while the rest of AXIZ hold court in the mid lane, preventing Sengoku from coming contesting, and that will be another Ocean Soul prevented by AXIZ, and they'll get themselves to Soul Point instead.
Yeah, absolutely. And through this, they're also going to be planning, okay, guys, well, we know the Baron's going to be coming up in the next 45 seconds. We're probably going to be using this one to win the game. We're not going to get Ocean Soul, but that's okay. Let's just see how far we can push. Megamin is getting caught out by Paz.
There's the paranoia, though, which makes things a little difficult. Honey has to flash away in a bit of a difficult spot, but the teleport is interrupted from Ramune as Hoglet went in and won the 1v1. Now Nemo has a massive magnet storm, and the storm is followed by the dawning shadow. Night follows day. We're just going to see how Enti tries to escape Hoglet coming around the back end. There's the night I was mentioning beforehand as Megamin slays the zombie. Paz running around best he can. Crash does escape from the fear proc. Megamin trying to get in as well, but it's already too dead for Sengoku. Gango, Crash, Enti have to hold on with one Nexus turret between them to try and save the game. AXIZ shoving on to try and end it. Duskbringer comes out. Enti takes massive damage. Honey puts that Nautilus back into the deep, deep sea. Crash on the fountain is golden. Gango gets crushed, goes golden himself as well. Lilia goes down. It's another double for Honey. 10, 2, and 13 ends the Senna. And AXIZ come out as the winners in this last game of week 3.
I called you a magical player at the beginning of 2020. It took till 2021. We had to pass that first year to truly see your brilliance. And my God, did you pop off Megumin, Hoglet, and many members of the AXIZ crew, as I believe we're coming straight into a post-game with Nymera right here.
There you are, because I'm always paying attention. I'm ever present, and I saw whatever the heck that game was.
Whether he's muted, that's always a possibility.
Lexi, you ended up.
He could be just muted. Yeah, who knows what he's up to? We just chat
I'm muted
for a
on
minute
Discord,
ourselves.
but I'm not muted, of course. On main stream. This is the problem. I have to press 2 unmute buttons, and that's just too much for this one brain-celled person to do. But yes, I saw whatever the heck that game was. And Lexi, one of the things we said during that pause bonanza was you thought that AXIZ were drafting better, that Sengoku were drafting better than they were too, but AXIZ really came out with some really interesting champion picks. This Nocturne was not doing well when we last checked in that mid game. How the heck did AXIZ manage to pull across these crazy team fights to make it work?
So everyone thinks Nocturne has to be played in one way. You have to press R and engage. No. Hoglet is too big brained for us. He goes, I'll press R, then never engage. And the enemy team just never know where we are. And they did that once, and then we had a pause. And then he did it again, and again, and again, and this teleport from Inno with the ultimate from Hoglet doing this over and over again just won them the game. And it was just a symphony, honestly.
I think another big thing was, of course, just heading on to another point, just kind of rattling through things, because there's a lot to talk about, and actually not too much time for a couple of us who have other obligations. This Senna that we were talking about, you mentioned a game. Senna is not a good tank killer. Senna's got a new build. Senna's got a new pair of kicks and a lovely set of weaponry with the Kraken Slayer and the Rage Blade initialize. Senna's a tank killer now?
Senna has kicks. Senna's got a whole damn 91 souls to her name by the time that game was done. And part of it was the fact that Honey did get off to that early. He hit that 2-0-1 again. Honey has had some fabulous games. He hit the last game, it happened with the Vayne. At this game, he manages to carry a bit harder. And he manages to just be such a threat from so long away that Gango and Ramune were really struggling to find a space to stand in these team fights, because Syndra's used to be able to hit people from further away than they can hit her. That just wasn't the case by the time those late games were coming around. Add in on the top that Silas for Megamin was really running out of control, particularly in the side lanes. No one could really stand against him, and things just got very difficult for Sengoku Gaming.
They did, but they did have a valiant defense. It wasn't a blowout. They won a couple of early fights, and even going into the later ones, we saw people like Paz killing Honey at that dragon fight, meaning that they couldn't take objectives. Crash getting 3 or 4 man sleeps, trying to turn around for a disengage. It just didn't end up being enough. I think particularly, we gotta go focus on Megamin on Silas, getting right into the thick of things. Lexi, it's another chance for you to start getting on your soapbox about these rookies.
Talking about these rookies, it's every time I have an opportunity, I will, and Megamin fell behind against Ramune. We cannot forget that. He fell behind about 10 to 12 CS. That's almost a kill when you talk about 14 CS. That is a chunk. However, he didn't panic, played very controllingly, and played around his team. He identified opportunities when he could come in and help. He was one of the other members on this team that had the teleport. Inon was the main engage into the backline engages. Honey was typically in the backline. Inon was at, Megamin was kind of playing tank protector for Honey. But the second that Honey was like, okay, we're going, Megamin was in the middle of them doing huge healing, and it almost felt it feels almost sacrilege and blasphemous to compare, but it kind of felt like I saw moments of Arya on the
I was
ring.
about to say, isn't it such a crazy thing that another mid laner has come in, picked Silas before Arya has on his new DFM output? Maybe it's the rookie mid lane boon.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the blessing. Maybe the mantle has been handed over. Of course, Arya still definitely a titan to fell and is yet to lose. And remember, of course, that AXIZ didn't end up taking that win versus DFM. They couldn't quite pull it out, so they'll have to wait till the second round robin. And the rest of you lovely folks out there will have to wait until tomorrow to hear more from us, because that will be our coverage for today. Done, dusted, consigned to the record books, and also the VODs. You can go check us out on YouTube, Twitch.
Go check it out.
Find us on Twitter. Find us on Discord. Come blame us for technical
Watch the
difficulties, which aren't
podcast.
actually our fault. Come do all of that stuff, but absolutely get in contact. We are going to go and leave you today with the 4 games that we covered. We will recap the 4 games which we didn't manage to catch live today tomorrow at some point, and we'll find that and all information to do with that in our social media. So please absolutely go check that out. So from us, from Initialize, from Lexi, or Master Swan, he goes by many names and we call them all of them, and myself, Naya Merritt, thank you so very much for listening in, and we'll see you next time.